Good morning, my creative friends, and welcome to Painting in Your PJs Live. I'm Dr. Minette Riordan, getting all my video stuff going here. Woohoo! Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Minette Riordan. This is Painting in Your PJs Live with Minette. Yes, I am in my PJs. I am in Loveland, Colorado, where it is a cloudy 33 degrees outside. I just went up to make my second cup of coffee for the morning, and the sunrise is spectacular. So I hope wherever you are that the sun is rising and it's going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be a very busy and full day, so I'm extra excited to be here with all of you this morning. If you're brand new to Painting in Your PJs with Minette, welcome. I'm delighted you're here. Do me a favor and click that subscribe button, and if you click the little notifications bell as well, you'll get notified whenever I do go live. And Painting in Your PJs is really about playful, exploratory art that helps us on our own journey of self-discovery. How can we use art as a tool to bring us even closer all the time to the truest form and expression of ourselves? Good morning, Tori. How's the grandbaby? Only days old now. Do you still have Nyla with you hanging out? So, good morning, Leslie. I love my community here on YouTube. I so appreciate each and every one of you that is here live watching and never says a word because I know you're out there. I love all of you who are here chit-chatting with me. I decided to do this series live instead of recorded because it's what brings me the most joy is connecting with others. One of my highest core values is connection. And this month, we're focusing on self-love here at Painting in Your PJs. And it's a tricky one. So I'm excited about what we're going to do today. Of course he's beautiful. All babies are beautiful. And he's yours, so he's extra beautiful. I love that. I have to go. Have you posted any pictures on Facebook? I'll have to go look. Good morning, Becky. Welcome, welcome. And in our fun exploration of self-love, the more playful we can keep it, I think the easier it is to be on this quest for loving ourselves unconditionally, which sometimes can seem pretty far out of reach. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my camera here. We're going to dive right in. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee while it's hot. And put it on my handy dandy little cup warmer that one of my friends gave me. Good morning, Barbara. All the way from Florida. I'm hoping it's sunny and warm in your part of the world and I can just dream about the sunny and warm. So this month we are enjoying, exploring, and creating a self-love extravaganza. And my son Connor and I created this gorgeous little ebook for all of you. It's available for purchase for $5. And my voice is still a little froggy. I hosted an event last night. I did a lot of talking, and I haven't talked at all yet this morning. So, not even to the cats. Good morning from dark and cold Yakima. That's right. It's super early for you, Carol. Sun's not even up yet. It's just barely peeking up here. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone that has bought our downloadable and really appreciate your support of my little small business and our channel. It makes a world of difference. And we have 28 interesting art journal prompts as well as 28 affirmations that we've been having a lot of fun with. And today I wanted to continue playing 57. We'll get into the 70s. Lucky you. It was in the 50s here yesterday. It hasn't been bad, but we're expecting 5 inches of snow tomorrow. I don't know. The forecast changes minute by minute. And I wanted to figure out an easy way to add another set of pages to my heart-shaped accordion book that I started on Tuesday. Zoom in just a little bit. And then our prompt for today, and this is where that tricky part was coming in, is to create a timeline of those moments in our life that have really allowed us or created opportunities for us to show and grow in resilience and strength that really have made us who we are. So before I got on the call, I went down this journey, right, of all the different places I've lived and the events that came out of that. And there have been a lot. There has been a lot of grieving and loss. There's been a lot of celebration and growth along the way more than I can put on this one little timeline that I want to create. So I'm gonna kind of pick and choose. But I think it's so interesting, especially just turned 59. I'm on the cusp of stepping in to my 60s, really stepping into a new role and place in my life, dealing with aging parents and young adult children, like so many of us. And I'm looking at all the places I've been and the experiences that I've had. And location has been really important. Animals have been really important. And of course, people have been really important as well. So when we get to the timeline, I'll go through this, but I want you to maybe start thinking about what are some of those moments that are really standout moments. And standout moments don't mean they're happy moments. Sometimes the most standout moments are really the ones that involve some kind of grief or loss or change. And good morning, Kim. 31 degrees, perfect weather to drink coffee and watch painting in your PJs. Awesome. I love it. Kim, remind me, where in the world are you? 60s are wonderful, 70s better. I love, one of my friends told me this one time, when you can wear a pair of shorts and flip-flops and a sweatshirt, like that's the perfect temperature, which in California for me was always kind of the mid 60s to maybe low 70s was awesome. And yes, coffee, 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 coffee. Beautiful. Boise, Idaho. Yep. That's so funny. My daughter's partner is working in Boise for the season, working for the Forest Service. So on Tuesday, we created this pretty little accordion style book, the first set of that. So if you missed the video on how to make the heart-shaped accordion book, you can watch that on Tuesday's video. And this is filled Becky, you're so funny. I love it. 60s are wonderful, 70s better. Okay, good to know. Good to know. So I have a lot to look forward to over the next 2 to 3 decades of my life. There's an amazing guy named Chip Conley who runs a bunch of programs and schools called the Modern Elder Academy. And he talks about, doing the math from like when you're 18 to now. He has a whole formula for figuring out. And really, right now, I'm just past halfway in my life. I have a lot of my life left. And I think sometimes because we're living so much longer that people tend to forget, right? That there's still a lot of amazing years left ahead. Okay, so I loved creating this project. I've actually created a couple of other ones. I had so much fun doing it. I decided I'm going to do a afternoon in-person class in my studio here in Loveland, Colorado, which will be fun. And for the purposes, good morning, Judy, for the purposes of painting in your PJs, I wanted to be able to add to the accordion book and work in it for a while. And so all I did, I think I showed this the other day, was I traced the hearts onto a second piece of watercolor paper and cut them out. I've already done the folds here. And I went ahead, I started to do this and then I realized I should probably show it here on the channel. I've got some double stick tape here on both sides because I want it to be extra, extra sticky. And I may even staple it because if I was doing mixed media paper, then anything would work to hold this together. Washi tape, because it's not as hard to fold. But with the watercolor paper, I was really concerned about being able to hold the paper together. So I just took one little piece of my favorite, where'd my roll go? Here it is. My favorite double stick tape, which is called Sukwing tape. I don't know if you can read that. And I get it in big rolls in Amazon. It comes in a variety of different widths. My friend Andrea sells it in her studio, A Work of Heart. .com, and she sells it in sheets, which is great for bookmaking projects, but it's about the stickiest double stick tape. It is great for some of those really challenging projects. And I think this looks like it's 1.5 inches, and it's perfect because I can cut it in half. I can double it up for wider. So when I was debating what size to get, oh no, it's an inch. Uh, Yeah, it's 1 inch. So inch wide double stick tape, great thing to add to your studio. And they sell it, I think they sell it at Jerry's Artorama. Okay, so I'm gonna finagle this as I often do, and we're gonna see if it works. So I'm gonna get those nice and lined up. And then I'm gonna take my bone folder and I'm really gonna put some pressure on here to make sure that is nice and sticky. This tape is the bomb. And then I'm going to trim up this little bit of overhang of tape here. All right, there's our cover. I love accordion style books. Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, Yvonne. I love accordion style books. I love the way that you can work on the front and the back of them, the way that your spreads can flow across one page or multiple pages. So on Tuesday, I let them flow across 3 pages, plus we did the cover. So not only now do I have 3 more of these wonderful hearts, but we also have the whole backside that we can play with. So it's a really great way to be able to work in a journal that you can add to over time. All right. So I want to decide. So our prompt for today is to create a timeline of those essential moments in our life that have really impacted our resilience and that have helped us grow. And again, sometimes those are great experiences like graduating from Stanford, buying my first car, getting a job, right? Falling in love and getting engaged. Those are all great moments. When I was young, my parents got divorced. And my dad did 2 tours in Vietnam, and we lived with my grandparents that had, an impact on us. And we moved around a lot before I was about, 3 years old. And then we settled in San Antonio, Texas. So, that had an impact on the whole family. My brother being born, does anybody else remember that? I have such vivid memories of my dad giving me a hula hoop as a fun gift when my brother was born. And I'm watching other friends go through this, and I remember going through it with my own son, that when that second child is born, the first one's like, what is up with this, right? So all of a sudden they're not the center of attention anymore. And I definitely have memories of that. So I remember when we moved out to the country and we had goats and we got a horse named Blackie, who was a very central figure in much of my youth. Stories about being in marching band and concert band, graduating from high school, graduating from college, like so many great things that happened and so many challenges that happened, right? My house burned down when I was in 7th grade. That was a biggie. After my freshman year in college, I was a victim of a sexual assault. And apologies if that is hard for anyone to hear. I am well healed from all of that. But I share it because I think that we don't want to talk about these things. And if we don't talk about them, we hold on to them for too long. When I was in university, I had a 13-year-old cousin get hit by a car walking home from school and died. I lost most of my grandparents except for my beloved granny, who I lost about a year after Connor was born, right before Connor's second birthday. So all of these things are going on and life is going on, and all of these contribute to who we are today, to our strength of character. And we all have more strength of character than we think we do, especially coffee. Coffee definitely adds to my strength of character. So, my thought is that I wanted to create a timeline of some of these essential moments. And when I think about how do I want to organize this timeline for what really matters, place is really important. So I've traveled a lot, seen a lot of different things. Was fortunate enough to go to Peru when I was in high school, spent some time in Spain in university, went to London after I got my master's. No, I think, anyway, went to London to see a friend in my 20s, spent a summer living and working in DC. So there have been a lot of little things, but really, most of my life, actually all of my life, I've lived in three places. I've lived in Texas, I've lived in California, and I've lived in Colorado. And many of the most important things that happened to me were related to place. So my thought is to go ahead and use all three of these pages to think about place. So, of course, when I think about Texas, Texas is that Lone Star State. And not only did I grow up in Texas, but I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, which is stars are so hard to draw, which is very heavily influenced by Hispanic culture, by Mexico specifically, and was actually Mexican territory for a really long time. And that culture and Hispanic heritage had a big impact and influence on me. I fell in love with the culture, the art, the color, the literature, so much so that I went on to get a PhD in Latin American literature many years later. But I was born way up. I wonder if I could draw the state of Texas. Let's see. Place feels very important. So while I'm sort of doodling here and figuring this out, you might be thinking about what are some of those essential moments, right? So some people, if you were in the military, you moved all over the place. So maybe it wasn't about place, it was about other kinds of experiences. But what I want you to be thinking about, there we go, is I love the shape of Texas. So I'm a girl that doesn't want to live in Texas, but there's a lot I love about Texas and a lot that I don't love about Texas. But I want you to think about what are some of the elements, the stories that sort of bind your life together. So I certainly have family members still in San Antonio that have never lived anywhere else. They spent their entire lives in San Antonio without really any desire to go anywhere else or to live anywhere else. And they haven't traveled a lot. Okay, that's a wonky Texas, but I get the idea that it's Texas. I think maybe this is too long. This is part of my noting practice that I want to do for the 100-day project. And tomorrow we are going to start to create, I am going to start to create, you can do whatever you want, a visual library of things related to my book. I actually had so much fun last weekend. I created a treasure map of the outline of my book. Okay, it is a very wonky Texas, but I kind of get the idea. It might be fun even just to print out an icon of Texas. And then from Texas, I moved to California, and one of my favorite things about California are when the spring poppies are in bloom. So maybe we'll just have a poppy here to symbolize California. And so I grew up in Texas, went to undergrad and grad school in Texas. Then I moved to California to go to Stanford University. That was the first time that I lived in California. Then we moved briefly to Colorado, then back to Texas, then back to California, and now we're back in Colorado. So you can see this sort of interesting flow of the places that I've lived. And that wasn't planned or intentional, but it's kind of where our lives have taken us. My husband actually got a job when we were living in Colorado the first time that took us back to Texas. And then I'd have to say that so much of my heart is here in Colorado, and my beloved mountains are here in Colorado. So I'm kind of seeing this rather than a linear timeline as a retrospective of these were the moments and the places that I was living and the things that happened while I was there. And I want to create kind of a visual memory of this, of all the different experiences. Connor was conceived in Colorado. That was a good thing. I had my first really, um, oh, I don't know what the word is. So when I had quit my job and Brad and I had moved to Colorado with the intention of starting a family. So in that moment I wasn't working. I was taking some time off. This was after having taught at a private high school for troubled teens way up in Northern California. And it was a creative awakening. I had this spaciousness of time. It's when I really started writing. I was writing so much poetry. I was teaching nature writing classes. Like there was just this real creative awakening that was just magnificent, right? And then we got pregnant. Brad lost his job, and we followed his job back to Texas and started all over, right? So, there's this cyclical nature to our journeys that I think is really worth exploring. So, I'm curious, those of you who are listening, maybe what's coming up as we talk about all of this? Does it feel hard to think about these experiences? And I'm feeling like this is going to be maybe quite a bit of journaling here. So I was born way up here in the Texas Panhandle. If I think about where my life started, it started way up here in Big Spring, Texas. And I was born on an Air Force base. That Air Force base doesn't exist anymore. And then I came down here. My grew up in San Antonio. When I think about San Antonio, of course, most of us, think about the Alamo. I didn't go to the Alamo till I was like, I don't know, 18 years old and was taking a group of students that were visiting from Peru or something. It wasn't. We didn't go on field trips to the Alamo. Don't ask me why. It's really a cool place. Lived in San Antonio, lived in Austin where I did my master's, lived over here in College Station and where I did my undergrad at Texas A&M, and then we lived in Plano, Texas. So again, a lot of movement inside the states, but my growing up until I was 18, I lived in San Antonio. And then when I think about, okay, I'm not gonna even try very hard to draw the California over here. It's another long, funky shape. And I only live in big states, apparently, right? Like geographically, these are really large states. And we lived way up here in Redding. We lived in the Bay Area, and I lived down here in Santa Barbara. And yet in Colorado, we've spent all of our time in Estes Park in the Loveland Fort Collins area. So interesting to just kind of think about the places that you've been, right? The places that you've been. And when I think about those first 18 years of my life and the things that really mattered growing up, it snowed on my 13th birthday. It never snowed in Texas, so that was very exciting, right? So we can start to think about all of these things. When I think about some of those most important elements of my life, when I was in fourth grade when my parents got divorced. I was in seventh grade when my house burned down. Somewhere in about that same time, my grandmother, who we called Mom, passed away. So that was my first big loss. My grandfather was already gone at this point, and I didn't remember him nearly as much. And my life was full of animals, right? My life was full of animals. We had a horse. My parents had kennels and raised dogs. And I had a cat. I had rabbits. I had parakeets at one time. So animals. First heartbreaks, right? Like the first people we dated, fell in love with. When I, right after between my freshman and sophomore year in high school, I went to Peru for a couple of weeks on an exchange program through the YMCA. It was amazing. I won my first award for my art. I made this, I was studying Spanish. I loved Spanish even then. And I made this gorgeous stained glass representation of one of the Mayan gods. I graduated high school. I went to college. I lost my cousin Mary Catherine and my wonderful grandfather. And I grew up a lot, right? I grew up a lot. I moved to Austin to go to grad school, and these were my wild years. I was a late bloomer, big time, but this was when I really started going out, drinking beer, having a lot of fun. Lots of dancing. I was in a Latin American studies program, so there were lots of parties and dancing, nothing dangerous. For me, I wasn't that wild. I was wild for Minette, which probably wasn't very wild for others, but I finally had like a big group of friends, right? It was just, these were like some of the most fun, expansive years for me. I also really stepped into leadership at this time in my life, right? I ran an international student conference with students from all over the world. Good morning, Karen. And I graduated Austin and I went to Washington, D.C. for a summer. And then my brother and I drove cross country to California. That was a huge trip for us. Some very personal things happened in our immediate family on that drive that made it a crazy drive. Got to California, lived with a wonderful family, the Ginsbergs, and my stepmom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I went to therapy for the first time while I lived. This is all in the Bay Area in my Stanford years. 2 years after being there, the father of the family got cancer and passed away very suddenly. I met the love of my life, and 30 years later, we're still happily together. Graduated from Stanford, moved to Redding, right? We loved living in Redding. We got our first dog there. Then we moved to Colorado. So on and on and on, right? I'm sort of talking your ears off, but it's like when I started to really look at all of the moments that make me who I am, all these moments matter. The ups, the downs, the highs, the lows. The journey is your joy despite the ups and downs. Right. It makes you who you are. Exactly. Different landscapes have beautiful memories. Yes, place. We're very attached to place. Kashmir, Washington. Nice, Karen. Yeah, I know, right? There was a then, and it's like, then I went to Stanford, and it's like, okay, where did that wild go? And when we moved to California, to Redding, we had the most amazing group of friends. And it was a really wonderful time of connection with other young couples where we were meeting all these young couples. So, again, as you start to visualize your journey, what is the through line of your journey? For me, I've decided the through line here really is place, right? So traveling from Texas to Colorado, and of course, there's a stop in Peru down here. Let's see, can we draw a little llama, maybe? And when I was in Peru, we were way up in the Andes Mountains doing a service project. We went to Machu Picchu and we went to the Amazon. We went to markets and catacombs. It was amazing. So there was a journey to Peru that was one of those life altering moments, right? So here I am, this conservative little Texas girl, never really been anywhere outside of Texas. We had traveled a lot in the Western United States, but never out of the country. My mom said she was terrified to let me go. And seeing how people in other parts of the world live, being exposed to so many amazing, beautiful cultures and different type of history, it was a transformational experience, right? I had my first spiritual awakening sitting at Machu Picchu, where there were a lot of llama and alpaca roaming around. I think I had my first rum and coke when we were in the Amazon playing cards in this funny little place. Had some of the best Chinese food I've ever eaten. Like, what are those memories? And place is one, smell is another. I can still smell Mexico City. I had amazing experiences in high school and university, Mexico City. And so when I was living, no, I was still in Texas. I went to Spain. So if I start to list out the places, Spain, Peru, Mexico, right here are the seeds of my love of all things Hispanic and Latin American, not just growing up in San Antonio, but falling in love with these different cultures and the heritage of these cultures. So, this is going to take some time. I'm looking at this going, this is going to take some time, and I want to really give it some time. So while I'm thinking about this, because what I'm really feeling like is I want to spend some time and really think about what I want to add. And what I really want to do this morning is paint. So you guys are going to see this is how Minette's crazy creative brain works. I'm like, okay, I have an idea. It's a good idea, but I'm not sure I want to work on that idea right now. Anybody else ever have this happen to them? So I want to come back over here and maybe do a little mixed media painting that represents growth for me, right? That represents resilience and growth. And my studio needs a massive overhaul at the moment. I have so much stuff everywhere. Okay. And I'm still loving my little stamps that I made. We're going to bring in some of our colors for this month, although I'm thinking I'm going to need some greens and things in here. I'm also thinking it'd be really boring for you guys to sit here and watch me draw my timeline for another half an hour. And because it's a thoughtful process. And so I'll share the finished project when I get that finished project done. But right now it feels like I want to have some painty fun. What is everybody else working on this morning? I know many of you listen in and drink coffee, and I don't think I've ever sort of switched gears right in the middle of a call before, but I'm just gonna go with it. And I'm going to grab some oil pastels over here. I don't seem to have any black ones. I don't know what happened to is that a black one? So I'm thinking still about this idea of resilience. And what is resilience? Well, I think for one thing, resilience requires us to have some compassion for ourselves. But resilience is our ability to experience cuddling with a dog. Lovely. That sounds awesome. Resilience is our ability to move through challenging experiences, to learn the lessons and move on. And every time challenging things happen, we get stronger, right? And so it's an important skill to build. And we never stop building resilience, ever. We never stop. We can always become stronger and more resilient. And of course, as we grow, we tend to have more experiences, more love, more loss. A wall weaving dream catcher for Hudson's room. Amazingly, you love people's stories. You could listen all day. Me too. I love listening to other people's stories, not always maybe to my own stories. Background of a spread for a journal jumpstart class. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. So there's so many moments that helped me become the waking your kiddos for school. Yep, busy mom mornings for you. So many experiences that have really contributed to my resilience, right? Planning your art journal page. Started with a string or circle along a winding road. I love that. Yes, I had that vision as well. And life is nothing if not a major growth opportunity, right? Okay, so I love starting my page with oil pastel and then layering over the top of that. I think it's just a fun way to get past that blank page, to get some words planted. Let's start getting some color down. So this is a Cad Red Deep. I'm going to get a big brush and we're just going to start building some layers, because when I think about this idea of the timeline, this is a different way of looking at it, thinking about it. It's a multi-layered experience. It's a spiral, right? It's a mountainous journey of ups and downs. And so we can reflect that experience of growth in a variety of different ways. Let's fold that out over there. And I love having these just very messy pages to start. Coming to the end of my white there. And at this moment, I can't tell you where I am going. So the two things for me as I'm thinking about all of this that are through lines in all of my stories, there's three elements that show up over and over again. So one is place, as I already talked about. Two is animals, and animals everywhere that I've been, not just the animals that I've owned, but animals everywhere. And I would say the third is creativity, although it took me a really long time. This is all gunked up. There we go. To really own that and recognize that, decades. But if I look back across my lifetime, I started making stained glass in high school. My stepmom taught me how to make stained glass. So mom, grandma, stepmom, everyone was super, super creative in my life. So there was always a lot of making going on. Exceptional cooks everywhere in my family, people who love to entertain. So place, animals, and creativity. And for a long time, my way through that creativity was words. All the way through undergrad and graduate school, it was all about writing, not about visual art making. But when I was in high school, I was making and selling stained glass. I was able to do a couple of neat things like make some insets for some cabinets in someone's kitchen. I made a stained glass map of Italy for one of our favorite Italian restaurants near where we lived when I was growing up in outside of San Antonio. So I did some cool things, and then all the visual arts kind of disappeared for a long time. I've shared before that I had a university professor freshman year in college. I was taking an art class just for fun. It was an elective. It wasn't related to my major, and gave me bad grades and told me all my stuff was crappy and to not waste my time pretty much. And I wasn't a kid who got bad grades, so I definitely moved on to do other things. So I'm thinking some birdies and some flowers. Excuse me. So these are the foam stamps that I made a couple of weeks ago. Maybe a butterfly. And let's just create a little floral mixed media page here, because what I'm sensing is this idea. I've also lived in places that are very beautiful from a nature perspective in California and also in here in Colorado, not so much in Texas, although I do love the Texas Hill Country. I went on a retreat last September in the Texas Hill Country. My dad still lives in the Texas Hill Country, and I didn't know how much I needed to visit that landscape of my childhood. So place, animals, creativity, all for me are represented by my love of all things nature. This feels like a sweet way to kind of look at my own journey of transformation and growth, my love of nature and bird watching, right? So just a fun way. And we already had a whole flower theme going on from the first page. So I think I just want to continue that here a little bit. And I'm thinking I'm going to do some stamping with white to go over the top of what's here, and then we'll see where we get to, and that white might mix with some of that marker left on the stamps. Let's see, Carol says she tried the heart making method on too small paper. Hopping from project to project. So am I. If you guys could see the table in my studio right now, there's like 5 projects in progress and stuff that came from upstairs, downstairs. All right. Let's get a makeup sponge here. I was looking around and I had 20 people here last night for a meeting of a networking group that I am the chapter president of here in northern Colorado that I love. And it was unexpected. The person who was supposed to host was let's see. I think I want the bird kind of looking at the flowers. So it was kind of a last minute host. And 4 or 5 people. The flu is definitely going around here right now. Oh, I love that there's just a little bit of that blue and yellow still in the marker there. And a couple of people were sick and couldn't come, and I was really grateful because I don't know how I would have squeezed them all into my living room. And I'm letting these just flow on and off the edges of the pages, so these stamps are a little bit big for this page. We'll get one going kind of right over the middle. I love these fun little sort of tulip shaped, but I had that thought of, oh goodness, no one can come down to the studio because it's a disaster at the moment. And I have my mythical makeover experience this weekend, the secret garden, and so before I teach over the weekend, I definitely need some cleanup. Okay, a lot of orange on that from whatever I was using before. So I was curious, I didn't know what would do. Commercials keep popping up. Yes, it is a new thing. Hopefully, Judy, they're super, super short. And if they end up being too interruptive on the lives, then I think I can turn that off and then turn it on after the video. All right, get our butterfly. And now I have to decide, I'm kind of, do I add more color? Do I come in with poscas and tangle the whole thing? I'm not sure yet. But let's get our little butterfly on here. So as you're thinking about creating a timeline or maybe a layered mixed media page, as you're thinking about resilience and growth, I want you to think about what are the symbols, the icons, right? It's easy to sit down and write out a timeline, which is where I started, but you can also consider. I thought I wanted another butterfly, but I don't. So I'm just going to stamp that off over there, clean it up. I want some leafy bits here. A symbolic representation of resilience and growth. And I think when I started down the path of the timeline, that's what happened. That I'm like, okay, this is going to be a lot, and it's going to be worth doing. And right now I want to just something a little more fun and visual that is more of that symbolic representation, which is what I love about visual storytelling, visual journaling, is we're really in here to sort of capture the essence of things, not the exactness of things. And this is making me happy. The other page was like making my brain hurt a little bit and felt like work this morning. And what I needed was perhaps a little bit of play because I have a long, busy day. Hi, Mommy. Good morning. All right. So here are the commercials are kicking me completely out of your live at least 7 times. Okay. All right. Good to know. So I will not turn the commercials on my lives. I will turn them on after. I can't do anything about it while I'm live, but I so appreciate the feedback and I will turn that off for tomorrow. So tomorrow we won't have those interruptions going on at all. So I'm looking over here at this cover page and kind of liking these pretty colors that are here. So maybe I'm going to bring some of these colors in. But before I can do that, we've got to get it. Yeah, the commercials are not a big deal when we're live or when it's recorded, right? Because then it doesn't interrupt the videos. So I can definitely change that. Thank you for letting me know, Tori. I appreciate it. All right, so I'm curious. I have these watercolor crayons. Thank you. I know it's kind of pretty as it is, isn't it? And I'm wondering if I could layer watercolor crayons over the acrylic. And feeling a little bit experimental this morning. And if then I would need to add water or activate it maybe with a little matte medium. These are almost like gelatos. They're so creamy. I think they're a kid's set, but I'm feeling drawn to, rather than painting these, what if I came in and colored them? And again, if you're just popping in, this spread is really all about resilience and growth, creating. Karen, that is genius. I've considered it for sure. And I feel like we have so many subscriptions to so many things that it felt like adding one more. But if you definitely use YouTube a lot, I can see the benefit. You can tell how fast I'm coloring, how creamy these are going on. I don't know if they're going to layer or not, but I'm super curious to try a little matte medium. So I love experimenting on this channel. And when I think about, again, creating this spread that is about resilience and growth, how much of our life is just one big experiment. One big experiment, right? And everything is an opportunity for growth. The positive experiences, the not so positive ones, all contribute to make us who we are. And again, this happy page represents my own personal resilience as well as my commitment to personal growth, right? I really have that perspective of I'm always growing. There's always something to learn here. That doesn't mean I look at tragedy and no, not at all, Corey, or Yvonne, sorry. They are not like Neo colors. They're more like I don't know if you've ever played with gelatos at all. They have the consistency of lipstick. And I think I bought them at a cute little store that I love up in Estes Park. And they were with the kids' art supplies. It's called the Studio Series. And they're super, super smooth. Yeah, it doesn't have like a big brand name on them, and they were $10, so they weren't crazy expensive either. But I want to make sure that they're going to sort of seal into the page and not get water activated. Oh, that yellow is yummy. Okay, let's get some yellow going on. I have multiple different kinds of watercolor crayons that I played with. There's a Crayola Craypaw that's really nice. And they just do different things. These are great for travel for something really quick. I love the Neo Color 2s are more like a waxy crayon when you're coloring with them, but I love the vibrancy and the high pigment of the colors of the Neo Colors. Neo Colors would have been great on here too, but these just happen to be sitting. And I periodically like to just pull out things in my studio that I haven't used in a while and either use it or get rid of it. Like when I left California, I gave away so many art supplies that I knew I would never use, like gelatos, didn't love them, glitter, jewelry making stuff. And I donated them to a nonprofit art organization, which made me feel good, made them super happy. And again, thinking about all the ways that I have grown. And sometimes, we grow by choice, and sometimes we grow by circumstance and the experiences that happen to us. Sometimes it doesn't always feel like we have a lot of choice. And what is it about? Yes, Carol, I have some of those tempera paint sticks as well because I was looking at using those at a retreat I was teaching. They're kind of funky. I and they didn't layer very well over the top of other things, but they were fun for me, but they were fun to sort of play with on their own. I'm loving the vibrancy of these colors. They're layering over the top of that acrylic pretty nicely. I'm gonna see how they do once we get the matte medium on there because I want to be able to go over all of this with a black posca and add some mark making. Get a little color on this, guys. So you can see the color comes off pretty fast, right? So let's see. But there's a lot of color in here. Yeah, they're fun. Something different. And I'm always looking for those supplies that are super simple and that I can use quickly in a journal page, especially as part of my morning practice, or I want to be able to take just a little bit of color on the road with me when I travel. I do love road trips though, because, then I don't have to like totally limit how much I bring with me. So tomorrow morning, Friday, I am going to start prepping and planning for my 100-day project. And I realized I wanted to do some practice and start creating a library of symbols and thoughts and ideas again. And so we're going to play with sketchnoting icons and symbols, which I think will also help me to complete the map or the timeline that I started in the first half of our episode this morning. Again, my curiosity here is, so the nice thing about matte medium is that it does activate anything that is water soluble. So whether it's car into ash, whether it's Derwents, I love using matte medium with Derwents. So you just replace the water with matte medium, but it seals the surface. It seals the surface, and then it allows you to paint or write or add more layers over the top. If I had only activated this with water, then I would not have been able to come back over the top with any more paint or color. And I can't remember if I put matte medium on these or not, so we're just gonna add a little bit more. It's a happy, bright page. It feels sweet and lovely, and yet there's a lot of depth of experience in here, right? There's a lot of depth of experience in here. So I'm going to hit this, get it super dry so I don't ruin my poscas, and I'm going to come back in with some black and white poscas. So it's interesting. It mixed with so matte medium, just Liquitex matte medium from, I get this at Michael's. I watch for when it's on sale. Is that what you're asking, Yvonne, about the matte medium? I'm noticing that it's very waxy. It is taking a little bit longer to dry. You can see where it's sort of, bubbled up here a little bit. All right, I'm going to come in and start with some black, and I'm just going to start to bring all these little characters to life. And I'm curious if, as you've been listening to my rambles today, is there a place, a symbol, a through line, a thread from your own life that, silly poscas, that when you look back across a timeline of your life, like what instantly pops to the surface as it was this moment, this experience, this place, this person. I often think about how much time I got to spend with my beloved granny, my mom's mom, and my Aunt Darlene, my mom's older sister who passed away at the wonderful age of 90 last October and was such a huge part of my life and a huge part of my creative life. Matte medium on top. Yes, I put matte medium on top because these are watercolor and I really want them to, yes, I put it on the bird first, Yvonne. Yeah, matte medium on top to seal these watercolor crayons in. It's a great way to seal a surface of anything so that you can come back with more layers, more paint. And Texas is a state with a lot of history and a lot of personality, right? So it's a big part of my identity is being a Texan, right, Mom? Even though I think Mom's now lived in Colorado longer than she ever lived in Texas, it's still such a part of our history. So maybe it's place for you. Maybe it's a place you traveled to or visited. Maybe it's an educational experience that you had. Goodness, that you can see that poscas. I hate when they do that. Going to town this morning. I don't usually have that issue with them. Maybe there's places you lived that you never want to go back to, that hold too many memories of grief and loss. So this is all about noticing, thinking, really exploring the depth of who you are at this stage of life, right? Most of you, like me, are in that second half of life, whether you're retired or still working, caring for parents and children and grandchildren. Still a little waxy to draw over. It's interesting. And when I think about timelines, I start to think about legacy. What are the stories? So one of my friends shared after hearing about the 100-day project and watching my video, she's going to interview her dad every day for 10 minutes because she said he has so many amazing stories that she wants to capture for herself, for him, for future generations. Lifelong Kansan. So your greatest influences are family and learning. Yeah, beautiful, right? Place. Oh my gosh, it's after 8 o'clock already, and I have to go get dressed and ready for my first meeting of the day at 9 o'clock. And all I want to do is sit here and paint. And I'm just kind of loosely sketching these shapes, having some fun with them. I'm not trying to, outline every single bit, just letting that be kind of loose and sketchy. And I'll have to come back and put the finishing touches on this one a little bit later. If I can at least get these outlines done, remember where I am. I don't know what I want to do on those two flowers yet, but I will figure it out. Definitely see myself coming in here and just adding some more little grasses and fun doodles, right? And again, just with that theme of growth and resilience. Aw, you guys are so sweet. I'm so appreciative of you guys listening to my, as Marian said, my stream of consciousness rambles, which is such a great way to put it. I love showing up here and sharing my practice and my process and my heart and my life and my timeline. And I deeply, deeply appreciate the community and the connection with each and every one of you. All right, my friends, have a beautiful, amazing rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is 100-day project planning day. So if you're interested in seeing how I'm going about approaching and planning and preparing for that, come and join me live tomorrow. And then next week, we'll be back with more of our self-love extravaganza. And thank you for everyone who has picked up a copy of that printable. If you haven't yet, it is still available. The link is in the description of the video. Right, Yvonne? Oh, yes. Yep. Yep. In the middle of all of it at once. It's the truth of our Gen X, right? The truth of our generation in the middle of it all at once. Yep. All right, my friends, I will see you guys all soon. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.